today we're showing 4-player co-op, so it's a big deal for us to have some sort of four guys running around a map, and 4-player co-op was the perfect way to do that. Obviously we're in first person now, but 4-player co-op was a big deal. And obviously, you know, things from the original, like we have the functionality of everything in your chip. You have a chip in your head which you can use to breach things in the environment, and one of the things you can do is persuade people, so you can change allegiance to come onto your side. And in the original game you had the Persuadatron, which was had the same functionality. So even though we're not following the story, or and it's not a top-down strategy anymore, it's we're really trying to bring as much of the legacy as we can into the new game. That's exactly why we brought Starbreeze on, because they have such a good way of telling a story within a first-person game. I mean, it is a very sort of action-orientated game, and you know, like a lot of Starbreeze games are based around a hub, whereas this is more of a sort of the narrative is told more sort of straightforward. But we did want the narrative to be very strong, and we brought on Richard Morgan, who's a well-known science fiction novelist, to help with the story, and obviously Starbreeze are good at that as well. So yeah, the story's been very important to us, and Starbreeze were the good choice. Story-wise, it's linear. You know, we tell the story of Miles Kilo. He's an agent working for Eurocorp. So we didn't want to have to do any branching of the story and sort of dilute it in that way. We wanted it to be quite a pure experience. But the real sort of choice in the game comes from how you upgrade your character and how you actually carry out the missions, rather than the story itself. Because it's not an RPG game. It's like it's a pretty pure shooter. I think it was good. You know, they really sort of paved the way to open up the market to that side of things. So it was and it was a great game. So I think it really opened people's eyes up. I mean, obviously that wasn't on the radar when we started development. It just happened to be, but it was a good coincidence, I think. Yeah, and we've had lots of good feedback about the sort of cyberpunk side of things. Oh, similar. It's a very different game in that what we wanted to do was sort of create mechanics that people could use on the fly. So whereas with Deus Ex, a bit like sort of Metal Gear, you have to sort of kit yourself up and then do something in a certain way. Whereas we wanted players to be able to have a suite of things they can use, a tool set, which you can walk into a room and try something. If it doesn't work, you try something else, and it's on the fly, and you're shooting and breaching and using your dart overlay at the same time, and it's more of a live sort of shooter than sort of figuring out a strategy, trying to do that, and if it doesn't work, trying something else. So it's just more fast-paced, I think, in that sense than Deus Ex. But the stories of they all paint a very sort of not bleak vision of the future, but sort of a more sort of dark vision of the future, which is really cool. And I think people like it because it's based in the near future, so people can almost project. They have an idea in their head of how their future is going to be in a few years' time, and these games sort of say, hey, well, maybe it's like this, and it makes people think. So I think it's interesting. I think both games do that well.